At the top of the program, we spent quite a bit of time showing you new details from Woodward's book and also detailed other examples when it came to the president disrespecting the military and how many of those who were closest to the commander-in-chief said he is a danger to our country. And now we're getting new excerpts from that book, including what the president said to Woodward about our nukes. Quote, "I have built a weapon system that nobody's ever had in this country before. We have stuff you haven't even seen or heard about. We have stuff that Putin and Xi have never heard about before. There's nobody. What we have is incredible." Now, Woodward writes that some of his sources at the Pentagon confirmed that the U.S. has a secret new weapon system, and they were, quote, surprised that President Trump decided to disclose it to a journalist. And a growing number of retired military and intel leaders are now speaking out about our president and the things that he has said to Woodward, including former CIA Director John Brennan. I read now his tweet. In his comments to Bob Woodward, Donald Trump reveals what an absolute abomination he is. If he had a conscience or a soul, he would resign. Tragically for us, he has neither. Joining us to discuss, Senator Bob Menendez. He, a Democrat from New Jersey, serves on the Foreign Relations Committee. Senator, I want to go to the latest coming from the Hill, but like the rest of us, I'm sure you had to pick your chin off the table when you heard what the president said in audio and the reporting from Woodward, in addition to what we learned in Goldberg's reporting in The Atlantic. Did it confirm what you already believed, or was it worse than you even imagined?
I mean, the depths of how low the president goes is just unbelievable. To ultimately say that those who wore the uniform, those who gave their lives on behalf of the nation, those who stormed the beaches of Normandy and Omaha, that those who gave their lives in the Vietnam War or in Afghanistan or Iraq or just anywhere the sacrifice has been made, to say that they are suckers and losers is just so un-American that I felt I had to go to the floor of the Senate and repudiate it, because it's not only disheartening, but how do you tell young people? I'm going to be holding an Academy Day virtually this weekend. I do it normally every year. We get 1,000 young people who want to come to the nation's academies and serve their country. How do I tell them that what their commander-in-chief, the potential commander-in-chief to them, that they're not suckers and losers, that it's a noble calling, and that service is one that should be honored and prized?
And from the Woodward reporting, that clearly the president knew the dangers of COVID. He knew the transmission, he knew the risk, he even used the right numbers in terms of how much more dangerous and lethal this could be than a common flu, and then saying the opposite. It got me to thinking it hasn't stopped, in that Department of Homeland Security, we learned from the whistleblower, is saying not to put out or even create reports reflecting Russian election interference or the threat of white supremacists for terrorist actions. You have the DNI, who won't even talk to you guys directly to tell you about security threats to this country. We're still not being told the whole picture. It's not just about COVID, is it?
No, it's not just about COVID. As a matter of fact, it is about deception at every turn. Whether it is about foreign interference in our election, where the Russians are actively engaged, and then the Department of Homeland Security is saying downplay the intelligence that we have, whether it is about the continuing challenges of the pandemic, where we have lost so many lives nationally, 190,000 and counting, that the president knew the deadly nature of the virus. He knew how the virus was transmitted, and yet he did not take the actions as the President of the United States to both warn the American people and lead the American people through the challenge and the consequences if they did not do those things that our public health experts were saying to do. And so from my perspective, some of these deaths are on his hand.
In addition to everything you said, you had General Mattis, you had former colleague of your guy, Senator Coates, then the DNI head, they're quoted in the book by Woodward that the president is a danger to this nation and he's incapable. And you have the head of the Director of National Intelligence wondering if he basically is an asset for the Russians. My point of all this is, maybe to us, Lindsey Graham or Senator Kennedy from Louisiana are names or faces, but they're colleagues of yours, and they still defended the president yesterday after all this came out. What will it take for them to say, we're going to put country above party? He's dangerous to America's interests. He's dangerous to the health of Americans. Do you think before November we'll see Republicans break with this president, or only after the election if it goes against them?
I'd like to think that some of them would stand up for what is right. Some of them would be a profiling courage, if that's what it takes, simply to have a opposition to your president on any given issue. I've done that in the past with Democratic presidents when I disagreed with them on an issue. I think that's the very essence of the oath that you take to enter the United States Senate. However, while I aspire to hope to see that before the elections, I have to be honest with you, Richard, I think we will not see it unless President Trump loses and therefore loses his grip on the Republican Party and a new Republican Party emerges that returns to some of its roots. I'm a Democrat, but I would long to see the Republican Party of old that was, socially conservative, fiscally moderate. Fiscally moderate, I should say, and socially conservative, and certainly not the extremes that we have seen under the Trump administration.
Senator, today there was that skinny bill that McConnell was pushing. It didn't even get enough Republican support, let alone no Democrats. This thing's a joke, right?
Well, look, the bill that the Republican leader of the Senate put on the floor today was a total sham. It was a political messaging bill, but certainly not a solution to the challenge of the continuing COVID pandemic and the economic fallout from it. It cut in half the $600 a week in enhanced federal assistance to unemployed benefits. It provided zero assistance to the states and local governments that are suffering because they did the right thing in responding to the COVID pandemic and expended resources, closed down elements of the economy, and as such lost enormous amounts of revenue, but in doing so saved lives. You have absolutely nothing in the bill to deal with the threat of families who may be losing their home or can't make their rent payment. You have nothing on nursing homes. You have nothing on the continuing healthcare challenges that we have as a result of the pandemic. And that's just the beginning. So we stand ready. We're going to still be in session. There still should be a negotiation. I certainly would hope that Senator Schumer is right, that the Republicans will come to the table. But for some reason, you think that they'd be doing that already. Why wait? People are hurting. Why wait?
Senator, keep it up. I appreciate the time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Richard. Good to be with you.
You too. All right, when we come back, one of the top doctors at Johns Hopkins joins us to discuss the new revelations we've learned in the Woodward book about how the president admitted that he knew how deadly COVID was and how contagious, but yet told America a far different story. After the break, a doctor livid with the way the president has handled our virus.